Hello and welcome to my review of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Gloomspite Gitz Colossal Squig from Forge World. One of these models will set you back £67. They say it's a multi-part resin model, but if you've seen my unboxing you'll know it only consists of 4 parts. Very straightforward to put together. The only issue you're going to have is just with gaps and filling in the green stuff and the gate on its head. We'll look at the detail and things in a moment. If you were struggling to find the rules for this Colossal Squig, fear not, you can find them by downloading the free Warhammer Age of Sigmar app from the App Store. Its whole battle scroll is right there, and they are the rules that I will be going through today. So it's a fair chunk of money, but it is a fair chunk of squig. Let's have a little look. I need to rearrange my lighting a little bit better. But yeah, fantastic mini, if you can call it a mini. As I say, there is a slight issue there where the gate is connected to the forehead, which is just a silly place to put it. You're going to have to green stuff some of the air bubbles if you get any. You're going to have to green stuff the jawline and smooth that out. I think I've done quite a good job there, and the same there. You may well have to plug in some gaps around the legs. This doesn't happen with every single resin model, but hey, you don't want to be ending up with a model with gaps at the when you come to paint it, because yeah, it's a bit of a pain to reverse when you get to that stage. But yeah, fantastic mean looking Colossal Squig. It's got the 6 eyes, it's got these lumps and bumps all over, it's got these sharp fins, it's got these chubby, it's got these skin flaps and folds and creases in its skin. It's got some claws on its feet, incredible. But it's got a couple of sharp sticks and knives and spears jabbed into its upper right thigh. It's got a big spot there, a couple of gashes underneath its jawline that you can't really see, unfortunately, unless you, I don't know, pose the model differently, but this is the default pose. There's some skulls all in its mouth too, and the teeth look super sharp. And it's got a little bit of a flatter base for it to hold on to. I was a bit skeptical about that because it's quite a chunky boy, but yeah, it holds him nice and firmly on there, and so there we go. So yeah, loads of detail on this one. I like the way it looks. I sort of don't, but I do at the same time. It's just like a squig, but you know, massive. It's just a huge squig at the end of the day. I'd like to see them do some kind of 40k rules at some point. That would be amazing. Have this thing charge at some Space Marines or Imperial Guard, put the willies up them. But there we go. So that is the Colossal Squig. There aren't any spare parts, so I'll go straight into the size comparisons. And we're in a great time at the moment because I am going through Gloomspite Gitz models, so I'll be able to give you a size comparison right now with the Mangler Squigs, which you might want to have a look and, you know, decipher which is larger. I mean, obviously it's much larger than a Mangler Squig. I'd probably say about 4 times, 5 times larger than a Mangler Squig. Both of the Mangler Squigs together, though, they are a tiny bit taller, and that's just because of this cape at the top. The actual, you know, mass of the top Mangler Squig is smaller than the single Colossal Squig, but they go quite well together. I mean, this one definitely charging at the front, smashing things up and gobbling them up, and these just bouncing into enemies and causing havoc with these chains and things. But yeah, that's probably the best size comparison I can give you with Gloomspite Gitz. I've got a couple of others, such as a normal cave squig. I mean, look how small that cave squig is. There's nothing stopping you from buying a box of cave squigs, I guess, and having a few of them running around him. That would be a nice feature for the base, I think, because otherwise the base is going to look very barren if you don't have some squigs running alongside him. But up to you. I think this model deserves a decent scenic base, broken carts or broken bodies or just something around it, not just on its base at you know, singularly. We've got one of the cave squig or squig herders, I don't think that little mushroom is going to be enough to entice this colossal squig. Maybe one of the mangler squigs would be. And then we've got the loon boss as well. Yeah, it's going to dwarf most things in your Gloomspite Gitz army. Even the spider, which I find is quite a large Gitz model, is going to be dwarfed by one of these colossal squigs. The hag, again, is the same price. I haven't yet built her fully, so try and understand that the hag will probably be about that big. So yeah, bigger than the hag, as much if not more detail than the hag as well. I mean, the hag has got all these scales on her and scales on her back and little spots and skin abrasions and things. I love the scaling on her. But anyway, that being said, it's going to be one of your largest Gloomspite Gitz models, if we don't include the Loon Shrine, and definitely going to be bigger than the Dankhold Troggoths. Speaking of which, I do have a rock gut Troggoth, a meta one, but still one nonetheless, and it kind of looks taller because it's in this huge pose, but typically they'll probably be about there, maybe even eye level. So that just gives you an idea of how big this colossal squig really is. It's you know, although it's quite pricey, £67, yeah, you definitely get the size and the detail for this kit. If they try and charge, I don't know, £80 for it, yeah, I'd have to think twice, but at the current price point, it's not too bad. I mean, we can compare it to Archaon if you really wish, but Archaon is, you know, a fair bit pricier, but there you go. Still stacks up quite high on Archaon, probably a third of the height of Archaon, but that is the biggest mini, of course. And then a little comparison with Jacob, it's a standard sized Age of Sigmar model. And then why not? We've got the models here, let's do a 40k size comparison, because I think a lot of people understand how big Space Marines are, Primaris are, and Slime Marbo is by now. But yeah, compared to a Primaris, yeah, it could definitely charge and eat a few Primaris up, couldn't it? So this is why I think it would be great if they had some rules for 40k. No doubt there are big gribbly beasts in 41st millennium, but unfortunately so far we've only seen things like Zotes and Ambles and you know, creature offerings from Tyranids. So yeah, it would be fantastic to see these native creatures compared to the billions of worlds that the Imperium cover. Okay, so this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Colossal Squig. So the rules for this Colossal Squig can be found in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app, which is free to download, and you get the battle scroll for free. You don't get any literature with this model. You don't even get a you know, instruction booklet or how to build guide. But I will go through and disclose the rules themselves. So, Colossal Squig is a single model armed with enormous jaws, trampling feet, and puff spores. Its movement is affected by the number of wounds it takes. Its save is a 5+, its bravery is 10, and it's got 16 wounds. So, how about this movement speed then? Well, because it's got 16 wounds, when the wounds inflicted to it are between 0 and 3, its movement speed is 4d6. Yes, you heard that right. It could potentially move up to 24 inches if you're extremely lucky. Its enormous jaws to hit would be a 2+, and its trampling feet number of attacks would be 10. Wounds between 4 and 7, movement speed is 3d6. Enormous jaws is 3+, trampling feet is 8. Wounds between 8 and 10, its movement speed is 2d6, enormous jaws is 4+, and trampling feet is 6. Between 11 and 13 wounds, you've got a movement speed of 2d6, and enormous jaws is 5+, and trampling feet is 4. And then finally, when it's got between 14 to 16 wounds, its movement speed drops all the way down to d6. The enormous jaws is 6+, and trampling feet is only 2. So let's look at these weapons then. So it's got a missile attack first of all, puff spores. Range is 8 inches, 1 attack, 5+ to hit, 5+ to wound. It doesn't have a rend, but it is damage D3. That's alright, you know, it's just 1 attack though. Enormous jaws though, this is where it's at. It's a melee attack, and its range is 3 inches, 8 attacks. To hit, as I mentioned before, if it's got all of its wounds, it's going to have 2+, then 3+, 4+, 5+, and finally 6+. To wound is 3+, rend is -2, and a damage is D3. That's very, very solid. Trampling feet, it's a melee weapon, it's a range 1 inch. Number of attacks, when it's got the full wounds, it's got 10, and then it drops all the way down to 2, according to its wounds inflicted. and then to hit is 5+, 3+ to wound, -1 to rend, and a damage of 1. So that means that when it's charging and it's got full wounds, it's going to have 8 attacks hitting on 2+ with the jaws, and it's going to have 10 attacks hitting on a 5+ with its feet. But it doesn't stop there. It has abilities. It's got Crazed Charge. Roll a dice for each enemy unit that is within 1 inch of this model after this model makes a charge move. On a 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. That's great, just inflict a mortal wound. But you roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 inch. Fungoid Squig Explosion. If this model is slain before removing the model from play, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of it. On a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Then you can add 1 unit of up to 5 cave squigs to your army. Set up the unit of cave squigs wholly within 9 inches of this model and more than 3 inches from any enemy models, and then remove this model from the battlefield. That's brilliant. It's one of the main reasons why you should go out and purchase another set of cave squigs, because you can get 5 of them that just sprout from it. So it bursts cave squigs pretty much. Puff Spores. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target this model. Now that is fantastic. You know, any hit rolls, because it's surrounded in these puff spores, you're going to be taking 1 from hit rolls. Swallowed Whole. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with this model's enormous jaws is 6, bearing in mind it's going to have 8 attacks, that attack inflicts D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll. There you go. So you get any 6s, you're going to get D3 mortal wounds on something. Keywords: Destruction, Gloomspite Gitz, Squig, Moon Clan, Monster, Colossal Squig. The points aren't on the app for any of the units, but I can tell you now that the Colossal Squig will set you back 300 points. If you want all the points values and things, then you can subscribe to the Age of Sigmar app for 99p a month. So for like £12 a year or so, you've got access to all of the battle scrolls and all of the points costs and values and things. So it's up to you whether you think it's worth it. At the moment, I probably lean towards the not worth it because of everything that's going on. It's very low chance that you're going to be able to get to any battles and things, but at least you know now from me that one of these will set you back 300 points, so you can use it in your army. And there you go. That is my review of the Gloomspite Gitz Colossal Squig. I guess you can use it in your Orruk clan. It does come under Destruction, and it also comes under Monster, so I'd have no issue using it in another Destruction army, such as Orruks or Ogres. But likewise, I also really do hope, I've got my fingers crossed, that they'll bring rules out for it for 40k for orcs, but who knows? You never know. You've had the squig off and things that can be used in both before, so maybe one day we can use this in the 41st Millennium battles, as squigs have made somewhat of a bit of a comeback in orc armies. What do you guys think of the model and the rules? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below as always. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Loom Boss protects.